Empaths, the modern nymph. Is it possible to feel so deeply that one feels not like oneself, but a mirror of the world around them? Can you be an embodiment of the very energies of nature around you? In the deep stillness of the dawn or dusk, when near the waves of the sea, or when you're hiking in the woods, do you hear a call? Do you have moments where the edges of your very self disappear? This is The Gods Are Alive, Empaths, the modern nymph. The names of the gods and heroes echo in the halls of myth. We know their names, be it Queen Hera, King Hades, or hero Hercules, but living alongside them, aiding them, guiding them, are the alluring nature beings called nymphs. They are bound to the deity they served, or to their domains they inhabit, be it land, air, or water. Their presence was not as loud as those they served, but it is the nymphs who, in fact, weave the web of life and love and all that lies in between in the great tapestry of the ancient world. It is easy to see the connection between these mythical beings to the modern empaths. So much so, it is as though a torch has been passed from nymphs of long ago to empaths today. Think of the quiet ones, the ones in the background of the party, or the homebodies. Think of those easily forgotten, but always there in times of need. Those who nevertheless leave their subtle marks on our world like shadows shade night. Empaths are nymphs by another name. You yourself may be one. You may have your own sanctum, your own holy altar where you feel most keenly alive. You may have your circle of kin, too, that your loyalty will always lie with. Maybe, if you could look at a mirror into the past and spy a nymph wandering in an ancient Greek forest, perhaps you would see your own face looking back at you. Just like the multitudes of empaths who walk the world today, there were innumerable nymphs, both devoted to love and duty. There were the fearsome oceanids and the nereids who reside in their watery principalities, the gentle dryads of the forests, the sweet-voiced, light-bearing Hesperides, nymphs of dusk of the golden, dazzling evening light, and then the Pleiades, immortalized as stars by Zeus himself. Each one has a story as scintillating and as varied as their name, each with their own unforgettable personhood. They raised the children of the gods, wove magic, sung songs of divine beauty, danced as no human could dance, loved, and were loved in turn, by gods and mortals too. Like empaths, they are the ever-present caretakers of the world. Nymphs are more than nameless maidens, though. Amongst their number were the doomed lovers Echo and Eurydice, as well as the ever-loving Thetis, the mother of Achilles, greatest of all Greek heroes. Just like empaths, there were also nymphs who did not dwell in the light. The nymph Orphne lived in the underworld amongst the dead. The infernal Lampades, torchbearer to the witch goddess Hecate, were rumoured to lead people to their death. And no one would dare forget the frenzied Maenads, fond of intoxication, who held rites and rituals still whispered, still debated about today. Such was their madness. It is easy to look upon the incredible power and feats of the gods and goddesses of the Greek pantheon and think that they were the ones in control of Greek spiritual life. But this is not so. Without these many-faced, many-formed beings of the nymph, we would not have many of the most famous stories we enjoy hearing today. Nymphs are the glue that holds together the fabric of the spiritual soul of antiquity. Like stars in the night sky, nymphs lit up the worlds they lived in. And now, when you look into your mirror, which nymph do you see? The nymphs of the past are the empaths today. An empath is a modern term used for a person who is highly attuned to the feelings and emotions of others around them, maybe even to the very places they pass through and inhabit. And of course, they are particularly sensitive to the negative emotions of people they come into contact with. For the empath, the depth and intensity of their emotions make them feel different, alienated from the world, a feeling that they are not like those around them. They walk as sprites amongst us, and we never quite seem to fully understand them or be able to see the world through their eyes. Empaths are often artistic, creative, and open-minded. They see patterns in the world that most would miss. Empath creativity, coupled with their vivid imagination, means that they frequently find themselves lost in daydreams, like the Avray dancing on a cool breeze. Like the muses themselves, empaths too have a strong affinity for poetry, dance, music, and the arts. Empaths, like nymphs, share a deep love of nature and animals. They may frequently raise pets and surround themselves with plants, and at times, this deep connection to what they love, to the world around them, can feel all-consuming, leaving no room for personhood. While a nymph may magically change their shape or take flight, an empath today might instead mirror the emotions of the people around them. They are masterful at masking, or perhaps, in more intense situations, being only humans, they may shut down completely, needing to physically remove themselves from a place. In other cases, they may feel the urge to retreat deep within themselves to find peace, to find their center. Empaths and nymphs share a deep desire for a meaningful connection with others. Not unlike the nymphs, empaths often put themselves in a caretaker role in a relationship, looking after people, putting other people before themselves, frequently sacrificing their own needs for others. It is easy for them to sense people's pain, even unsaid, and it is their instinct, like a nymph soothing troubled waters, to soothe that pain by any means. As with their mythological equivalents, empaths may often find themselves with people who possess powerful wills, or in situations that they feel are beyond their control. They may find themselves with deeply flawed people who may never quite reciprocate the gentleness, consideration, caring, and devotion an empath provides. It may seem like fate, as if the three fates of antiquity are weaving a cruel web, but empaths, like nymphs, are not without agency. Yet there is a tragedy in their stories. When we hear the tale of doomed Echo, who falls in love with Narcissus, we see that she finds herself locked in a toxic dynamic and loses her body and her identity as a result. Only her voice remains, haunting the mountains and the valleys of the world. However, not all their lives are as bleak. Thetis, the greatest of the Nereids, was loved by the mortal Peleus, so much so that before they were married, Peleus had to prove himself worthy of her by holding her despite her many changes in forms until she deemed him worthy of her. They married, blessed by the Pantheon themselves, and she became the proud, fierce mother of Achilles, ensuring her son would be invulnerable by famously dipping him into the river Styx by his ankle to make him so. And there was the powerful nymph Calypso, who fell in love with Odysseus when he found himself on the island of Ogygia after the Trojan War. She was so enamored by him that she kept him on the island for 7 years and did not let him go until Hermes, sent by Zeus himself, asked her to release Odysseus. We also have the fevered Orphne, the nymph of the river Styx, who, seething in resentment, frequently drowned unsuspecting victims. And then there are the witch nymphs, the Lampades, who would lead mortals to madness or sometimes even to their death. It is difficult to fight, or refrain from one's nature, light or dark, and it is difficult for nymphs and empaths to wrestle with the intense emotions they often feel. All too often, these lovers dissolve in anguish, or they find they smother their own loves with care, or by love itself, find themselves driven to madness. There are many stories where nymphs have had to battle against the slings of fate, but of course, no existence is without challenge. And while many have tragic endings, they are not also without their triumphs. They are not without stories written about them for them. They are not without lovers. They are not without happy endings. Whilst many of their fates are unknown, nymphs still dance, still sing, and can still find the deepest of their heart's desires fulfilled. Nymphs are the threads and linchpins that hold mythology together. Through them, those in need are nursed, those who are lonely are loved, and those who are lost are found. Like their nymph counterparts, empaths are as essential a part of the web of our lives today. Without their wondrous eyes, their poetic voice, their loving hearts, we would indeed have lost a crucial part of the society we live in. Whilst the gods have ambrosia to sustain themselves as we have food, for nymphs and empaths, they are struck by the contradiction of wanting to be both seen and unseen, to hide their true selves away from the eyes of the uncaring world, the vulnerable, dreamy selves that they have, and yet, like us all, they cannot help but be possessed by the desire to be seen and valued. In Antiquity, people would sacrifice to the deities of the pantheon to honor them, but rarely to nymphs, the silent beings keeping the magic alive, that keep the old world turning. Similarly, it is easy for us to appreciate our friends with whom we have good times, but it is easy to forget the quiet person who is there for us when we need comfort. It is not so hard to see someone for who they are, just as it isn't hard to see the magic in the everyday. You only need to listen closely and open your eyes to the magical qualities of those around you. Maybe you, too, will find yourself transforming into a nymph moved by hidden beauty. You may even find someone who brings light to your life, a nymph whose siren song you cannot help but listen to, again and again. If you are fortunate enough to cross paths with an empath, tread carefully, speak kindly, and be grateful as you would with a nymph. And if you are an empath, thank you. I hope you especially enjoyed this small token of appreciation from The Gods Are Alive. This is The Gods Are Alive, where we explore myths and their modern equivalents. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to be notified when we upload next.